Mama always said my voice was wasted in kitchens, but kitchens pay the bills and dreams don't feed us. 25-year-old Clover Ashton whispered the words to herself as she scrubbed another crystal champagne flute in the industrial kitchen of the Merriweather estate, where the city's wealthiest gathered for the annual charity gala. Her hands were raw from scalding water, her back ached from hours of standing, but she was grateful for the extra shift that would help cover her mother's medication. The sounds of the gala drifted through the kitchen doors, orchestra music, laughter, the clinking of glasses raised by people who'd never had to choose between heating and eating. Clover had been singing softly to herself, an old jazz standard her father used to play before he died, when the kitchen supervisor snapped at her to save the concert for your own time. So she'd stopped, swallowing her voice along with her dignity, just another invisible worker keeping the wealthy world running smoothly behind the scenes. What Clover didn't know was the 33-year-old Quillen Merriweather, Billionaire CEO and tonight's reluctant host, was having the worst evening of his year. This gala, an annual tradition his late wife had started, felt like a hollow performance of happiness he no longer felt. He stood among guests who wanted his money or influence, listening to a famous singer perform songs that meant nothing, surrounded by opulence that couldn't fill the emptiness his wife's death had left 2 years ago. Then, mid-performance, disaster struck. The renowned singer, nervous or perhaps overconfident, forgot the lyrics to the emotional finale, her voice faltering, silence filling the ornate ballroom as 500 guests held their breath in collective awkwardness. And from the kitchen, soft and pure, came a voice that completed the verse. Not loudly or attention-seeking, just someone singing along because they couldn't help it, because the song mattered more than the audience, because music was reflex rather than performance. The room went absolutely still. The orchestra, trained to adapt, picked up the melody, and Clover, completely unaware that she'd been heard beyond the kitchen walls, continued singing while washing dishes, her voice carrying the emotion the famous singer had lost, raw, genuine, heartbreaking. Quillen moved without thinking, following that voice through the ballroom, through the service corridor, pushing through the kitchen doors to find a young woman in a stained apron, hands submerged in soapy water, singing with her eyes closed as tears streamed down her face. She was singing the song his wife had loved, the one played at her memorial, and somehow this stranger was delivering it with more soul than any professional he'd ever hired. When Clover opened her eyes and saw the kitchen full of gala guests who'd followed the billionaire, saw 500 wealthy people staring at her through the doorway, the song died in her throat. Her face flushed with humiliation. "I'm so sorry," she stammered, pulling her hands from the water. "I didn't realize anyone could hear. I'll be quieter. Please don't fire me. I need this job." "Don't apologize," Quillen said, his voice rough with emotion he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. That was the most beautiful thing I've heard in 2 years. What's your name?" "Clover Ashton, sir. I'm just filling in for the regular staff. I wash dishes, and I shouldn't have been singing, and I'm truly sorry." "You have a gift," Quillen interrupted gently. "A real gift. Why are you washing dishes instead of singing professionally?" Clover's laugh was bitter but not unkind. "Because singing doesn't pay rent or buy medicine for my mother who's recovering from cancer. Because auditions cost money I don't have. Because dreams are luxuries for people who can afford to fail. I sing in kitchens because that's where life put me, sir." The raw honesty silenced the entire gathered crowd. These were people who'd never had to choose between passion and survival, whose talents had been nurtured by expensive lessons and family connections. And here stood a woman with extraordinary ability, wasted because poverty doesn't care about potential. What Quillen saw in that moment, what her voice had revealed, was everything he'd lost when his wife died. Not just her presence, but the authentic emotion, the unguarded passion, the reminder that life contained beauty if you were brave enough to feel it. This dishwasher crying while singing had more genuine artistry than the celebrated performer he'd paid thousands for. "Would you sing the rest of it, the full song, for everyone?" Clover shook her head, terrified. "I can't, sir. I'm nobody. I'm covered in dish soap. These people didn't pay for a kitchen workers' concert." "They paid to support arts education," Quillen said firmly, "and right now you're teaching everyone here what art actually means, expressing truth regardless of circumstance, creating beauty in unlikely places, having the courage to sing when life gives you every reason to stay silent. Please." What happened next became the gala's defining moment. Clover, still in her stained apron, was led to the stage not as spectacle, but with genuine respect. And when she sang, the full song with the orchestra supporting her, she delivered something rare, absolute authenticity. No performance tricks, no calculated emotion, just a woman who'd lived enough hardship to understand the lyrics about loss and hope and continuing despite pain. The room didn't just applaud, it wept. Quillen stood in the front row, tears streaming openly, hearing his wife's favorite song delivered with the raw honesty she would have loved. And the guests, cynical, wealthy people who'd seen every polished performance, were moved by something money couldn't buy: genuine, unadorned talent born from struggle. What Clover learned later, what Quillen revealed during a quiet conversation after the gala, was that his late wife had grown up poor, had worked her way through music school while supporting her family, had always insisted their charity focus on funding education for talented kids who lacked resources. Clover's voice, her circumstances, her courage to keep singing despite washing dishes for survival, it embodied everything his wife had believed about art belonging to everyone, not just the privileged. "I want to establish a scholarship in my wife's name," Quillen said. "Full funding for someone with extraordinary talent and financial need to pursue their art. You'd be the first recipient, not as charity, as investment in someone who's already proven they won't let circumstances destroy their gift." Clover's refusal was immediate. "I can't abandon my mother." "The scholarship includes living stipend for family care. Your mother gets the support she needs, you get training, opportunity, and time to develop your talent properly. My wife would have wanted this. She believed talent without opportunity was tragedy we had the power to prevent." 6 months later, Clover performed her first professional concert, a fundraiser for the expanded scholarship program, now supporting dozens of talented young people from struggling backgrounds. And in the audience sat her mother, healthy and crying with pride, beside Quillen, who'd found unexpected purpose in honoring his wife's values through supporting artists like Clover.
"You know what I think about sometimes?" Clover told Quillen before going on stage. "That night, I almost didn't sing. I was embarrassed, worried about getting fired, convinced my voice didn't matter. But something made me finish that song anyway. Maybe it was your wife, somehow, reminding both of us that beauty matters, that art matters, that people like me, people washing dishes while dreaming, we matter too." "You taught me something equally important," Quillen replied gently. "That the most valuable things are often hidden in kitchens and back rooms, waiting for someone to actually listen. That talent exists everywhere, but opportunity doesn't. That my wife's legacy isn't the buildings or foundations that bear her name. It's people like you, singing despite everything, proving that the human spirit can't be washed away by circumstance. Because kindness means recognizing worth in unexpected places, offering opportunity to voices society overlooks, believing that the person washing dishes might carry gifts the celebrated performer lacks. Sometimes our greatest contributions come from the courage to keep singing when no one seems to be listening, trusting that someone, somewhere will hear and will remember that true talent transcends circumstance, that dreams deferred aren't dreams destroyed, and that the most beautiful music often comes from those brave enough to sing through their tears. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.